how. Oh yeah, what I did in the Facebook, I'll explain.
Okay. You guys are just at the end of a conversation or the middle of a conversation.
And in the middle, I think my mind was transitioning. That I had done something that you had said you had put in the Facebook that questions about why do people get irritated in companies when we ask how? And so I made a how question for us. Yes, how are we going to do that? Because I don't think only in companies when people say, so how are we going to do that? Right.
You don't think what?
I don't think it's only in companies.
Absolutely. But it's a very interesting question. Why does your boss or your leader get angry when you ask the how question? And this is a question that we've been asked. And I love Chris Voss's gives a beautiful answer. That it's great to ask a how question around a vision. How does this fit in with our vision in the company?
Yes, good one.
On the other hand, a leader.
Oh, I think you're going in and out. Or is that mine?
Wants to be a what? What can we do? What if we can change the how? How do I do this to possibly? What does this look like? Or what we've done, does this match our vision?
Yeah.
And the leader knows that you're also taking on responsibility and thinking.
Oh, I
love that.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
Question. I'm just checking out.
Yes. And when you're talking, that reminded me of one of my favorite things that Brene Brown says in Dare to Lead, which is clear is kind. And that is with me.
Is unkind and clear is kind.
Because so often leaders don't have the clarity. And the other question is, what does this look like done? So that I'm envisioning the same thing you are when this is over. And I know what you're thinking of. Because my question of how do we do this thing could be irritating and I think often it's irritating because people don't know the answer. Because what you're asking doesn't quite jive with what I'm thinking, but I don't know how to say that. Why aren't you getting the thing I'm saying? Isn't it clear? Or you're going to just do it. I don't know how. Find a way. That's your job. There's ways that we put that off, the thinking of how. And that brought me back to a story I remembered last week and posted about my English teacher who I went to want to know how to write better and told me, asked me how much I paid for my nose. I think he was thinking about his own Jewish daughter, the same age. And I think compared our colleges and that I was-
You had your nose done?
Competitive. I never had my nose done. He just kind of asked me just like that. Anyway. I think the assumptions there, right? He's a Jewish man with a Jewish daughter, and I just felt like there were just some big assumptions. And he brought his things into the room and couldn't answer my question. And I think that was his way of deflecting the insecurity that came up because he didn't know how. He doesn't. We don't always know how. I know from the world of teaching, most teachers don't actually know how students learn. They know how to give an assignment and how to expect students to do the work. They don't always know how it actually happens that somebody learns. So the same thing happens in leadership or as parents. We don't really understand how to help people do what they need to do. We just know we want them to get it done.
Right. Oh, we've got a poor connection, but I'm hoping that we've been recorded because it's so rich. The other thing you were saying that how question, Brené Brown also speaks into when I can ask for help, what would help look like?
Yes.
She says when as a leader, she trusts people who would ask for help rather than just going off on a tangent and maybe doing something that's not supportive of the vision.
Right.
Can you help me? Can you explain it a bit more? What would... Right. Or the leader could ask, what would help look like for you? What do you need? Do you need extra people on your team, or do you need more time? Or
right.
So they're changing that how into what is very valuable.
Changing the how into what is a great, and I call these things conversational moves, because we get stuck in the script of what only things we can think of to say. But really often the gap in when we're feeling friction, tension, or conflict is because we don't know the move or the way to say something else we're thinking that connects with the reality where the other person is, or to fill the gap in the thinking. And what you just said fills in the gap of thinking. So we can say, I'm with you, I'm working on this, I'm bringing my best, and I'm also thinking about connecting this to some of the other things that matter. And I'm thinking about this other piece that I don't quite get. And we don't know how to say all those things. We just know how to expect or be frustrated, or we jump many thoughts ahead and react to the way that feels,
Right.
instead of knowing how to articulate these many little micro moments, that when we slow it
Absolutely.
down, we can find that language.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also been stuck in your own perspective.
That's
I
right.
know I
Yeah.
asked a question about a booking of an office today, and I said to the boss, I said, this office seems to always be booked from 1 to the rest of the day. And I felt, I wrote it in an email, but if I had been speaking to him, I'm like, there's clearly a mistake in the schedule. This office is booked every day from 1 o'clock onwards.
Mm-hmm.
But he couldn't get my tone, right? Fortunately, in the
Right.
email, because
Right.
actually, yes, the office, and I'm thinking like, this is a mistake
Yeah.
in the schedule. And he wrote back to me, yes, the office is booked from
Yeah.
Mondays to Thursdays, Mondays to Thursdays.
That's a really great point, is when having these conversations, they are best done not on email, because the relational tone you might intend won't be communicated through your words alone. We tend to read emails more bluntly, and it creates more of an edge, and
Right.
how the person reads it. So if we want to have that gentle or inquisitive, curious, open tone, we have to put something relational. Hey, it's a conversational move. You can't just come out and say, so when is the office booked, or isn't it booked at this time? Because somebody might see that, boom, we need to do it this way, for example. But if you say, here's what I'm wondering, or trying to reconcile, if you share a little bit of what the conversational, where you're stuck, what you're trying to, if you can become more aware of your own thinking, which is a whole thing in itself, and find a way to express that, you bring somebody in instead of just declaring.
Right.
They receive a different way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Over email is especially important. So when you say, how are we going to do this over email? It's going to sound like someone's being challenged. Like, you don't think I know what I'm doing? You're asking me how? I'll tell you how. I have an idea how. Come up for us. Yeah.
Right. So that is, as we come to the end of this, that's something that I really think we'd like to pass over. I'd like to pass over is just to think of the how and why it sometimes is annoying, and use it when it comes to the vision, because your boss or your leader, he wants to or she wants to know that you can think as well for yourself. Rather ask what of what we've decided works for the company, what doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
and I think, actually, I think I can remember being asked how and being irritated at the beginning, because I wanted them to just trust that I knew what I was doing. I think when I first started my teachers, I created new programs, but they didn't just say, so how are we going to do this? They were like, well, I don't know how you're going to do that.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know if that really works. Or, there's just a negativity. So
exactly. Like, I cannot see how this is going to work.
And then you're like heavy lifting as the leader to create the vision and help people believe that you can get there. And
exactly.
That's hard. It can be hard in the beginning. So it can feel like you're being challenged. I wonder what other people will say as people.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing the comments.
Why do people get irritated by the how question?
Right. Thank you so much. It was lovely seeing you again.
Yeah. Thank you, Beth. These are fun.